Good morning, dear students. Welcome back again with a new lesson of Science 2, lesson number 3, Life Process in Living Organism. Formation of new organisms of the same species by earlier existing organism is called as reproduction. Means procuring a new organism of the same kind. That is called as reproduction in simple language. It is one of the most important characteristics of living organisms, and it is also responsible for the evolution of the species. Reproduction occurs by two methods, one is sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. In short, the difference between sexual and asexual reproduction is, in sexual reproduction, two gametes are involved, male gametes and female gametes. Whereas in case of asexual reproduction, only one parent is sufficient for the reproduction. Now there are certain advantages and disadvantages of it, which we are going to discuss. First of all, asexual reproduction. Process of formation of new organism by an organism of the same species without involvement of gametes. Remember here, without involvement of gametes is called as asexual reproduction. Absence of genetic recombination means there will be no variation. It will be carbon copies, just copy of each other. There won't be any variation between the daughters and the parent cells. That is called as recombination. That is lack of recombination of genetic variation. The absence of genetic recombination is a disadvantage, whereas the fast process is the advantage of this reproduction method. Asexual reproduction in unicellular organisms. So you can see by the diagram here how the division takes place. First of all, cell and nucleus is there. Division of nucleus is taking place. Division of cytoplasm also takes place slowly, and then at last, first the nuclear division takes place, and at last nuclear and cytoplasmic division both take place together, and both are different from each other, separated from each other. So from one parent cell we get two daughter cells. This type of method of division or reproduction is called as binary fission. In this process, the parent cell divides into form of two similar daughter cells. Binary fission occurs either by mitosis or amitosis. The axis of division is different in different protists. For example, here, transverse binary fission is take place in Paramecium. Longitudinal binary fission takes place in Euglena. Now multiple fission. Like similarly, the way it is binary fission means from one organism we get two same organisms. Same way in multiple fission from one organism we get more than 2, 3, 4, or it can be many. Asexual reproduction by multiple fission is performed by amoeba in other similar protists. How it takes place? Let's see with the help of the picture and the explanation. You can see a diagram here. Here a parent amoeba is there. Then outer covering cyst, strong outer covering is formed called a cyst. Then nuclear division is taking place. Number of nucleus is formed, and at last the cyst breaks up, and many amoeba, individual amoeba, comes out of it under favorable conditions. This is how multiple fission takes place. Many nuclei are formed by repeated nuclear division in the cyst. You can see in the cyst many nuclear division is taking place. It is followed by cytoplasmic division. Later on, cytoplasm is divided. Cyst breaks open and arrival of favorable conditions, and many amoebula is being released. Now, next asexual reproduction is budding. You can see how budding is taking place. The example here, the diagram is shown clearly indications here. One parent is there. From one parent, a small outgrowth is formed. We call it as a bud. Then slowly, the outgrowth increases, and at last it separates from the parents. And this is how the budding takes place in unicellular organisms. This is example of the yeast. Asexual reproduction occurs by budding in yeast unicellular fungus. Yeast reproduces by mitotic division. A small bulge appears in the surface of the parent cell. You can see here. This is called a small bulge. After sufficient growth, bud separates from the parent cell and starts to live independently. They are separated and slowly they start living independently. Like this, many such buds are formed and many such yeasts are reproducing. Now, asexual reproduction in multicellular organisms. This was first of all we have dealt with unicellular organisms. Now we'll be dealing with the multicellular organisms. Fragmentation. This is also we have already studied in 9-sided. Here again in short we are going to study about it. The best example of fragmentation is Spirogyra. Let's see how it is being done here, shown here. In this type of reproduction, the body of parent organism breaks into many fragments and each fragment starts to develop independently and a new Spirogyra is formed. You can see a diagram. Now both this starts living independently like the parent. So here from one organism fragments take place, two fragments are formed, and therefore this method of reproduction we call it as fragmentation. Best example is Spirogyra. Regeneration. Though it is not called as a reproduction, but then since new organism starts growing of it, and therefore it is unexpectedly put in this group. Now here example of regeneration, you can say an animal is there, let's call it planaria. You cut any part of the planaria and that part of the animal regenerates, starts growing of its own. Like you know that example, for example, lizard of tail of the lizard, it separates its tail separate itself, or lizard isolates its tail from itself and automatically within a few days new tails are formed. That is called power of regeneration. Same way here also in planaria, you cut any part of it and later on with the help of that one part again a new organisms will develop. This method of reproduction is called as regeneration. Under certain situation, an animal planaria breaks a body into two parts and thereafter each regenerates and remaining part of the body. Thus, two planaria is formed. This is called as regeneration. You can see here in between here it is being cut and slowly what happened? Two new planaria is formed. Budding. Budding of Hydra. Budding we have seen in unicellular, now in multicellular. Hydra reproduces with this process under specific conditions and small outgrowth is formed. You can see a parent hydra is there and small outgrowth called as bud is formed here. Then from later on in that bud a new organism is formed. Later on this part isolates itself from the parent and starts growing independently. And an outgrowth is formed by repeated division of regenerative cells of the body wall. This bud form grows progressively and finally forms a small hydra. So this method is called as budding in multicellular. And the last part of it is vegetative propagation. Now, reproduction in plants with the help of vegetative parts like roots, stems, and bud is called as vegetative reproduction. Here, any parts of the plant is responsible for the growth of the new organism, and therefore this is called as vegetative part. Even roots, stems, and leaves are responsible for the growth of the new full plant, and therefore such type of reproduction we call it as vegetative reproduction. Example here you can call it as from the leaf. It is bryophyllum. Okay. Likewise, few examples are there, and this is called as vegetative propagation. That's all for today. Asexual part of it we'll discuss it later on. Have a great day.